really do think it's all about mindset. Like, I am still that way in some circumstances, especially when I go to some of these bigger conferences. Like, oh, this guy's doing it 10x what I'm doing it. This guy's got so much more cool stuff happening in his business world. And like, you've heard this quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And so, like, my mindset when I go into those circumstances now is I want to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to be the least experienced person in the room. Because if I'm the smartest man in the room, man, I'm in the wrong room.
In this episode, Chris Walcher shares how he went from hitting rock bottom as a touring musician to becoming vice president at a major financial firm, and what he learned about leadership, sales, and authenticity along the way. Chris opens up about his early life in the punk rock scene, where long nights and self-destruction masked a lack of purpose. He breaks down the mindset behind the success, patience, curiosity, and genuine human connection, and why he believes the best leaders don't have all the answers. They just keep showing up and learning with their teams. We talk about how he turns his failures into lessons, wrote his book Corporate Casual, and built a leadership style centered on trust and transparency. Stay tuned. This episode is packed with insights on how to grow through discomfort, lead with authenticity, and keeps your priorities straight when life starts to accelerate. Chris Walcher, welcome to the One Away Show.
Happy to be here, man. Always a pleasure getting to sit down and rap with you, brother.
You're a treat, the best gift of my year for sure. Chris, what's the one away moment that you want to share with us today?
Man, so the one away moment really is just kind of the trajectory at those pivot points in life that could super open up doors. They provide some sort of inspiration inside of you that perhaps you didn't see. Like you and me both, we've got plenty of mentors that saw something in us that we didn't see when we looked in the mirror. And I think that's a beautiful thing to harvest. And so, rock bottom is the coolest place that you could be in life because there's only one way up, and that's this direction. So that's my one away moment for you, brother.
So you're telling me you're about to tell us a one away moment about being rock bottom and people pulling you up from the, ashes. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So give us some detail here. Where in your life are you starting this rock bottom moment?
Yeah. So I'll start in high school because I was in a really unique circumstance where I didn't realize I was at rock bottom. I was doing very cool things, to be fair. I was in a band. We were touring up and down. We were signed. I was living in recording studios. And the environment of that was an attribute to some unfavorable characteristics that I held in my life, just with respect to like substance abuse, not really taking care of my body. And so while I thought that I was living the dream, that dream was like slowly turning into a pretty solid detriment to my life. And so with the help of, meeting my girlfriend and fiance, my now wife, like having a little bit of support, surrounding myself around people that were able to see value outside of things that I was currently doing, all things combined, that's what kind of grew into me really focusing on, trying to build this empire that I am lucky enough to be building right now.
Yeah. What were you said that you didn't really, like, you were almost blind to the bottom that you were living in, yet you were excited about things that you were doing that were super cool. Like what? Like when did the blinders come off?
When I started to feel like the health effects of some of my activities, like hanging out until like 4 a.m, constantly on the road. Again, my surrounding was very much that like punk rock regime, dirty nightclubs, like that whole type of world. And so at the time, I was having a blast. It was so much fun. And I had like some of my other high school buddies looking at me like, oh, dude, I can't believe you get to do this all the time. And so it was like a period of pride for me, but not separating like dude, is this who I'm going to be when I'm older? Or is there going to be effects? Like, is there a long-term plan for me here? And ultimately, the answer was no. And so that crossroad was, again, when I met my wife, who master's degree, like went to epic colleges. She's so well studied and intelligent. And it really just kind of opened my eyes to like, whoa, if I am going to have some type of long-term trajectory, is this it? Like, is this the route that I'm going to be taking? And the clear answer was no. And so I pivoted with her support to start working at my brother's company in Gravers Lane. And it was like warehouse work. We did some cool jobs, but that was kind of my first exposure into sales. And that experience just kind of really was like, well, we can just build things and then sell it, and we can create this world of like sustainability where other people are seeing value in something that we're doing. It was like a huge eye opener for me, to be fair.
Yeah, that's amazing, truly. What do you think your now wife, saw in you back then when you're saying my life, there's this woman super smart, outkicked my coverage. Somehow she hung on looking back, and brought me along with her. What do you think she saw in you to say, hey, like, I got to keep this guy around?
You know what? I think that I've always like inherently been a good person. And so some of that authenticity and genuine that I kind of bring into my world today, I think it was always really deeply rooted in my personality and my characteristics. I think that it took a shovel and a ditch to find it at its grassroots and pull it out above service. But yeah, I think that at that time, she saw potential in me that I didn't quite see. And it's so easy to just ditch because it was a long road, you know what I mean? But she wanted to hang out and she wanted to see if she couldn't dig that ditch up and help it sprout. And so, all things considered, I think that was probably the basis.
Did it take a while for you to let her in?
Yeah, it took a little while. I for sure had a wall up, just because I had like previous girlfriends that were like, oh, pieces, deuce, like you're doing some crazy stuff. And so it was definitely a journey, but it was like, honestly, it was cosmic timing because by the time that I kind of got connected with her, that was when I was having that kind of self-realization about that long-term plan. And so, dude, she's my best friend. She's a soldier. And I attribute a lot of my successes today to her just like, hey, man, one more day. Just go one more day. And then now we're many years, over 10 years away from that just one more day. And it's done.
That's awesome. That's cool. It's really awesome to hear that you found such a special partner in crime to kind of journey on with life.
No, she's awesome.
That's cool. So you started working at this warehouse. You started to shift, from the band and partying or being out late and to saying, hey, we can go build things. We can sell things that we build. Why was that so eye-opening for you at the time?
It was eye-opening, one, because I never had exposure to anything like that before. Like it was a real job. And so like the basis, it was a warehouse. We had several engraving machines, laser engraving machines, and we were making like store signage or retail e-commerce keychains. And then, landed a sick deal where we were doing like serial numbers on machine parts. And then when I kind of got into the sales kick of it, there's like 3 sales that really were my, oh my gosh, like this is it moment. And so the first sale was I was door knocking all of these like cupcake and bakery shops with some samples, like little happy birthday cupcake toppers and stuff. There's engraved out of acrylic that you stick it in, whatever. And so I would door knock a bunch of these cupcake and bakery shops, and it was Sally's Bakery, I want to say, but ton of locations up and down the West Coast. And they were like, yo, you're able to provide these cupcake toppers a lot cheaper than our current provider. With you guys, we get a little bit more like creativity. We can send you what we want. We can do custom orders. And then they ended up placing like a $50,000 order, which that at the time, like, dude, I was like 23 years old. And And so that was magic. I was like, whoa, we're like really providing value to these guys. So that was huge for me. That was like the breakthrough. And then the engraving shop was quasi graving, but also a clothing company called Pride Clothing. And we got this opportunity through the Kardashians, the Dash store. And so they reached out to us just from us, like cold outreach, trying to fill out some like manufacturer bids. And they selected us to do all of the keychains for the Dash store. And so, like, these are heart acrylic keychains with Dash in the middle. But now we just jumped up from like a $50,000 contract to like 250K twice a year. And we're doing hundreds of thousands of units filling these stores. And that was like the whoa, we're building an empire here. Like, this is dope. We're just a bunch of kids in this warehouse. And then the third was it was a warehouse kind of community. So there were other shops that were in where we were renting the location. And there was a guy that was doing lug nuts, custom lug nuts for new Disneyland rides. And Disneyland, I'm sure everybody can imagine, like, so particular and specific about every single tool or piece or anything that's used to build a ride, right? They have everything accounted for. So we landed like a 500K deal just putting serial numbers, engraved serial numbers on like these little lug nuts. And there's like hundreds of thousands of units. Like, me and my brother would be up until 4 a.m, just like putting the pieces in, wait 20 minutes for it to engrave. Okay, now we take them out, put the new ones in. And it just was like, dude, we're just a bunch of kids, but look at what we just created. And so that was really, that experience, all those 3 type of sales really got me into sales. Like, hey man, there's something magical here. So I just kind of leaned into it from there.
Yeah, you got some big dopamine hits pretty early, you know? Some big
Yeah.
rushes.
No, I
Yeah,
was a kid, man. I was just a kid, dude.
just a kid. So, I'm imagining your next cover album, Just a Kid, about your sales career. Can't wait. Uh, you talked about how you got the Kardashian deal. The other 2 big deals that you got, like, what were you doing to get the business? Like, what was happening in your life to ultimately get the business? What were you doing?
The cupcake deal was way more like sales, SDR, AE, intentional, where I was going out trying to sell something. And so that was a unique stance. It's like, hey, man, if I'm intentional and trying to sell, this could work. The Kardashians and the warehouse deal really were a result of authenticity, like just being friendly. I was finally in the right crowds. Like, we were doing a t-shirt gig. It was out in like downtown LA. A couple of their reps, like Dash, had a booth over there. I had no intention of selling to them. It was really just like casual conversation, being authentic, and it grew into an opportunity. Same way with the warehouse guy. He was like a couple doors down from where our warehouse was. There was like a communal place where you could get coffee in the morning. And so I'd see him every month. Hey, what's up, Joe? Hey, Chris. And it just kind of organically blossomed into like, what do you guys do in your shop? Oh, shoot. Like, we do this in our shop. And the light bulb like went off maybe after 4 months. And it's like, dude, can I come visit your shop so that we can talk like dollars and cents and see if we can't set something up? And I think maybe I'm biased now, but obviously the larger of any of those deals were results of just like being a human being. I had no ill-willed intent behind it. Not that sales is an ill will, but nobody likes to be sold to. But it was just super genuine. I was obviously farming an opening for an opportunity. I was patient as all heavens. And that's what really stuck to the wall and was like a significant driver for that team, which is why now in my sales capacity, I leaned so heavy into, dude, just be a human being. Like, talk like yourself, be curious, don't like the whole pitch slap, that whole nature. It is useful in some capacity, obviously, because that's what I was doing to the cupcake people and it worked out solid. But those like monster partnerships that we ended up formulating was really just a result of like, hey, you're a human being. I like you. I think that you could add some value to some of the cool stuff that I'm doing. And it was just so organic and genuine how it blossomed. So that's what I've been trying to rinse and repeat ever since, regardless of where I'm working or what the sector is or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you do have a compelling authenticity to you, a way of building relationships, a way of, yeah, not ever feeling like you're being sold to. It's conversational. I mean, you never tried to sell me anything, thank God, but no, I'm just kidding. But
You're on my list. You're on my list,
I
Brian.
am. I'm in the pipeline. I just don't know
That's
it.
how it's supposed to be. That's such a magical thing you just said. You're in the pipeline, but you don't know it. And the moment that you know it is a moment that I just lost. So,
Wow. We should make a book out of this
hey,
episode.
round two, baby.
Wisdom. Congratulations. We're gonna get there, okay? Um, what do you think has enabled you to like what skill like what's behind that in your eyes? Being able to show up, let's say I am in your pipeline and I have no idea, but you know it. So what allows you to show up to that conversation, build on the relationship, build trust? Like what are the qualities that are required that you possess that you think allows that to happen?
I think that there's a couple things. The first is just an undeniable amount of patience. I don't have a timeline for signing anybody. I'm very, and sometimes it's a long time, but I'm very, I want to say, strategic and methodical about finding my opening and not triggering sales resistance. And so patience is huge. You got to wait for the right time. But the second thing is I am, and it's why I love podcasting and why I love talking to you, is I am just curious beyond all means. I'm curious about people, curious about personalities. I'm curious about businesses, how they operate internally. Like, I'm just such a sponge to learning how other people, especially people who are successful and I look up to, I'm so curious about how they're doing things, what little nuggets I could take from perhaps their internal procedures and then marry that with some of the foundations and processes that I'm currently utilizing. So yeah, I would say patience and just really like stark curiosity. I really am just curious. I love talking to people.
You are curious. You are genuinely an asker of questions and a thoughtful, like collaborating type of partner, which I've noticed for sure. And I love what you said about like the minute some you start feeling like the sales resistance, you've lost because maybe you've tried to move something along too quickly. And yeah, it is that delicate balance of finding those strategic openings when you can, to work someone further down the pipeline. Well said. How did you build on when you go back to that warehousing experience and you started to see some light, some ways of doing things that were a bit different? How did you begin to build on that, to compound it, to make greater strategic moves for your career, to accelerate, some of those early success stories?
So, I mean, and this is perhaps going back a little bit, but look, I went to a community college and I majored in communications and theater. Okay. I was a theater buff my whole life, even into those warehouse days. I was at local theaters doing performances. I was a part of Groundlings in Los Angeles. So I was doing like improv school and training. And the catalyst to that was, man, I always wanted to go to a big university. I certainly got into a lot of big universities, but my financial feasibility at the time just wasn't there. I saw a bunch of my buddies taking out these loans. To be honest, that scared me. And so I just opted out of doing that traditional 4-year university college experience. And so what that did for me, I think, in how I operate with my work ethic is, man, I had to just gamble and bet on myself. And I've always had this like monkey on my back that was like, dude, I need you to outshine any biased example of where you should have been as a result of going to a major university just by you betting on yourself. And so, going back to your question, like leveraging some of those things that I learned at the warehouse with strategic approaches, wins, losses. Like we're talking about the wins, but there are also some losses in there too. We're like, man, I think that all things combined, I kept that foundation of curiosity and betting on myself. And I think it's really been a driver into, especially some of the really cool things that I get to do today. I'm like blessed beyond so many means with the firm that I work at, my CEO, my COO, like just two of the greatest guys that I could have a relationship with. They are mentors. They're tough love mentors. And I need that because they're going to be just so honest with me. And it really is a driver for how I can continue to scale and succeed in some of the ambitions and initiative I'm taking on.
Sounds like it's really worked out for you. I mean, to just keep showing up. And you said betting on yourself and having that monkey on your back, like you always got to move forward, right? And sure, maybe you don't have the prestigious college degree, you don't have XYZ circumstances, but you've built a skill set that is hard to replicate, and you've found success in a skill set with people and relationships where you know how to really move the needle on specific things for a company, which is invaluable in today's world. Here's a question I have for you. Sales, being a leader of your life, like it sounds like you've overcome a lot, and maybe it hasn't always been sunshine and rainbows, but there's been periods where you kind of had to show up and put on a game face, even if behind the scenes it was kind of turmoil or miserable. Like, what do you think the secret is to kind of showing up with a good poker face and like still like being authentic, but like you can't like always reveal the full stack of cards in your hand, right? Because it might make people run. So like what have you been able to do to ultimately show up in a way that's authentic, but also not like 110% revealing,
Like, how do I hide the scars if I'm going through a period where I'm feeling some of those scars?
Exactly. Thank you for eloquently stating my question 10 times better than I did. You should be hosting this. Come
Come
on.
on, man. We're in this together. We're in this together, B Dub. No, it's a really interesting question, man. And it's funny. I've talked about this a few times on different podcasts, but one of that expression, imposter syndrome. And everybody's talking about how negative it is. I learned when I was in theater school, even before I got into sales or corporate America, these guys would harness imposter syndrome. And in fact, they would call it an imposter opportunity, right? And so that any scenario that I'm in, if I'm not feeling it, maybe last night I slept rubbish, or I really am going through some like internal turmoil, I really tried to keep that lens of this is an imposter opportunity. And the more that I show up, I'm going to slowly graduate into it not feeling so imposterish anymore. It's just going to be me. It's an opportunity for me because I broke through that imposter portion that everybody puts such like a negative connotation on. Like, dude, I got even today, man. I got my two kids. They run me up the wall sometimes. I moved from Los Angeles to Texas. And so I don't have a lot of homies over here. Like I'm not going out to a group of friends to go in. Like there's a ton of things where sometimes I get down on myself, mental health wise. And I'm still just trying to show up and break through that imposter portion just for like a an environmental growth that perhaps I can bring to whoever, like whatever circumstance I'm in. So it's not like I mastered it by any means. I'm still learning and going through it every day, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. An imposter opportunity. As in the kind of, I feel like what you're saying is the theater school is a good like life metaphor. Like there's always going to be opportunities and situations that I walk into and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. And you know, I'm going to act like I do know what I'm doing in a way.
Yeah, dude, in like the wildest circumstances. Like I remember one role that I took in Northridge Theater, where I was a fireman. I was a lead fireman, and in my beat, like I'm not a fireman. I'm not built like a like I'm stick and bone. I'm not muscular, but that imposter opportunity was just that mental exercise of like, okay, if I was a fireman, uh, what am I thinking about when I wake up in the morning? How do I talk to people? What type of language do I use? Am I focused on environmental friendliness? Am I obviously fire stations are really big on having a tight knit team, like all of these little components that I would have to compartmentalize to drive what I wanted out of that character. That's the imposter opportunity. And it's so fun to go that deep into the weeds. If I'm like, yo, I'm going to be a corporate businessman. All right. Well, what does that mean? What does a corporate businessman say? Is there a norm to it? Is there a bias that perhaps I can break through into it, but still be able just to sustain success? I mean, like that's kind of deep into the weeds at how I look at anything imposter worthy. Is it's an awesome opportunity, man.
Yeah, yeah, I like it a lot. You're triggering a good thought. Remember, I'll keep this short, but I remember going to a Forbes under 30 conference, and when I was like 23 or 24, and I remember the kids there were, or people there were so impressive, like beyond. And I remember kind of getting home and feeling a bit deflated, and I was like, who am I? And I remember reaching out to somebody who was maybe 7 or 8 years older than I was, and he said to me, he said, act as if. And so he said, you just act the part like you've been there. And he said, those people don't even care about what you're up to because they're too busy worrying about themselves. And it was this like beautiful, like I'll never forget, but it really hit me in that moment. And what I'm hearing is, hey, this is what you're saying when you're in these situations as well.
Yeah, man. And like, look, just to like piggyback off that, I really do think it's all about mindset. Like, I am still that way in some circumstances, especially when I go to some of these bigger conferences. Like, oh, this guy's doing it 10x what I'm doing it. This guy's got so much more cool stuff happening in his business world. And like, you've heard this quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And so, like, my mindset when I go into those circumstances now is I want to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to be the least experienced person in the room. Because if I'm the smartest man in the room, man, I'm in the wrong room because I'm still trying to learn and hit those stepping stones every single day. And so it's just that mentality switch where I didn't feel so sheepish about not being the smartest person in the room, but I leaned into it. And ultimately, it gave me the confidence to be more curious and ask more questions, smart questions, stupid questions, questions that have no idea with what the room is facing. Like, it really gave me that confidence to break through and harness that imposter opportunity because that's what it was.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Everything you're saying tracks and resonates big time. Chris, tell me about the career. Where are you right now in your career? I know you just got a big promotion. Tell us about. Congratulations, by the way. You just came out with a book. You didn't even tell me until it launched. I mean, wild. You wild man. So like give us a window into where Chris Walker is in his life right now.
All right. So first, yes, I've been with my debt collection firm for 10 years and slowly climbing the ladder from like lower salesman, mid tier. Then I was a director and then I was kind of overseeing the department. And as of April of this year, the internal executive team decided now might be the right time. So I just stepped into the shoes of vice president of sales, which is so humbling, man. Like, oh my gosh, going back to this is the biggest imposter opportunity that I have faced yet. And I'm so excited to continue to take it on and learn. So I've got that going. And man, I love my firm. I love what I do. Look, I wasn't younger thinking about accounts receivable management and all the nuances with regulations, consumer, FVCPA, like super get into the weeds. But I think it's because of the support and the dialogue and the mentorship of my executive team that's really just catapulted me into like, dude, I'm in this. And so that's more the occupational side. I'm leading sales teams from offshore, near shore. I got remote soldiers that are all across the nation. It is very exciting for me. Um, Outside of that, yes, I did just release a book, Corporate Casual, Stop Trying to Be Someone Else in Sales. To your point, I did not tell a soul that I was going to do this. This is another imposter opportunity, but it felt a lot more like imposter syndrome because when I looked in the mirror, I have no business writing a book, dude. Like, I just learned how to tie both my shoes, so to speak, right? And so, but what I did was, since I've been at this firm or in sales, I had kind of this running thread. It was like a draft email of bullet points of like, oh, dude, you said this in this meeting, and that was the ticket, dude. That was the right thing to say. Or, bro, you said this, or this was your approach, or you came in too hot and heavy, and that's why you lost it, bro. Or, man, your discovery questions were rubbish, and that's why you weren't able to paint a value proposition for who you're trying to sell. Like everything in between is a thread, miles long, unorganized, bullet pointed. And I use that as the catalyst for me to go, you know what? It was almost like therapeutic. I don't think at the time I was writing it for anybody else. I think I was writing it for myself. As a reminder of those experiences. I mean, shoot, dude, it sounds so silly. I told someone the other day, when I'm like creating a proposal or I'm going through a strategy for outreach, you know how many times I'll turn around and grab my own book? You know, what'd you say in this section? There's probably something you did once that could help this. And it sounds so silly. But I really do. It was definitely way more for me than it was for everyone else. And to be fair, the feedback and the growth and like the purchases, I've got partners who have purchased like up to 20 books so that they could display it on their internal shelves at like stuff that is beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. And it's just the most beautiful thing ever. So that's kind of my quip on corporate casual. And then I got fun things in the loom. I'm excited. I got some cool things going with Dowd Good community. We got Warren, Guy, and Charles. Those guys are like going back to surrounding yourself with the right people. Oh my gosh, those dudes just inspired the pants off me. So I'm leaning into cool new things I could do with them. I've got my business partner, Jacob Tuttle, and we're like really turning this Mutual Connections podcast into a thing. Do we know what that thing is yet? Heavens, no. But are we opening the door to ideate and have open dialogue at how it could be something a little bit more than what it is right now? Heck yes, we are. And so that stuff is so fun for me and it's so self-fulfilling, especially on the mutual connection side, because it was rooted. Like the reason that we started doing it was there's so many cool people on LinkedIn and you're getting this surface level post. Like you're just reading what they post. Like when you and I first connected, man, you've been on mutual connections. Like there was such a curiosity in me to learn more about Brian instead of what Brian was just posting on LinkedIn, which was already adding value to me. But there was like this very connect the dots where it's like, dude, I want to know this person. I'm so curious about this person. And that was like what mutual connection blossomed from, which I think is so dope. And again, pretty authentic and genuine. Like that's what we're trying to lean into.
I love the Chris Walker sales approach. I think it's right up my alley of like what I care about. And I think, it seems like you've added these dimensions to your life, from your dad group to the book to the way you rose the rank in the company. You put these kind of staples and pillars around yourself. They're extensions of Chris, but they're extensions that I think allow your creativity, your authenticity, your humanity to really shine through, which is pretty awesome. Most people, I think, not that this is a comparison game, but like, I think it's it's hard. It can be a hard thing in life to find those containers in which your fullest expression can go outward, especially at a career level. And so it's neat to see how you've kind of built these extensions to kind of throw yourself into in a way that is very strategic and smart. So yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, dude, it's funny, and I'll pull this quote from Warren from Dad Good. One of the first things that he said to me when I met with him that he uses as an instrument of inspiration is slow motion is greater than no motion. And so going back to the patience, like I have I have no ETA or deadline or timeline for me to go, whoa, this is success. But I know that I'm having a ton of fun playing in these different avenues, meeting new people, leveraging stuff that I've done in the past. And so, man, if I could just have a little bit of motion in any of those passions every day, that's the stuff that fulfills me, dude. So
Yeah, that's awesome. If you're a founder looking to grow without raising capital or giving up control, Relent is built for you. Founded by entrepreneurs who've scaled without outside funding, Relent helps companies find and retain talent, lower operational costs, and reinvest in growth. We've hired nearly 10 team members through Relent and streamlined our entire cost structure, freeing up capital to put toward what matters most. Even small teams can set up offshore operations quickly, compliantly, and without heavy infrastructure. With deep expertise in the India-US corridor, Relent combines cultural fluency with operational rigor and guides everything from team design to long-term scaling. Grow on your terms and start with Relent. To learn more, visit relent.team/arcbound. Chris, how many people do you lead on your team right now with Cedar Financial?
man, so I probably have we could round up to about 20 between my offshore and nearshore location, and then 7 that are in the States. And the guys that are in the States are really my executive team. To be fair, they've been in the industry way longer than me. They have so much more experience. They are the subject matter expert in these separate verticals that I've selected them for. And a lot of people might think that that's kind of silly because I am younger and these guys have far more experience, but I just want to learn from them. And I think that my open-minded, like my leadership style, it has nothing to do with me being the expert. It has everything to do with how can I charge your batteries to go and kick butt? Do you need support? Do you need me, to talk to you in a soft-spoken manner? Do you need me to like grind your gears, almost like when I was back coaching and like get you back on the field? And so that's kind of like, that's my methodology for leadership is that I'm not the expert, but man, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. And I got a ton of these tools in my tool belt that can help catapult you to wherever you want to be. And as a leader, oh my gosh, dude, like forget about the 100K ARR sale. Seeing somebody who you've invested time in win, nothing beats that. Nothing beats that ever.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's cool to hear you speak about your team in such a rewarding way. What's allowed you to build that team? What's been the strategy, and then what's allowed you then to go recruit these leaders in specific verticals to then go execute on the plan?
Yeah. So the foundation of my leadership style and like how I'm able to now recruit and onboard and select candidates really stems from my experience coaching women's college soccer. I may have told you this story before. When I first got hired at Cal State Northridge University, the girls team hated me. Man, they hated me. I came in and I was pretending like imposter that I was some like English Premier League coach, like screaming at everybody, my way or the highway, didn't care about the different personality sets. And dude, they wanted me out after the first week. But that was an opportunity for me, is that I could continue to be closed-minded or like, look, man, ultimately I want to be successful. I want these girls to be successful. So how do I need to pivot? And that's really where I learned the different personalities and approach and how to treat different people one on one. And it's really kind of graduated into what I'm doing in the corporate world. Like I was just on a podcast the other day. I have universal expect like you need KPIs, you need performance setting, you need all this stuff that continues to be your metric driver, right? But I think one of the unique approaches that I have in leadership with these guys is everybody has a different strength in what they do. Like I've got some heavy analytical guys. And so I want to create a KPI roadmap for them that leverages being a numbers and a historical analytics and speaking to that like intellectual analytical side, right? But I've got other people that maybe not as analytical, but super outgoing. They know so much about the world that they're selling to, whether it's, all right, let's do some podcasts or let's add a little bit more color to some of your emails or get you in a conference scene where you're just inundated with a whole bunch of your ICPs and you could really shine. So my approach of management, especially with those executives, is how can I support what their greatest strength is and scale that to the nth level. And so that's kind of like what my approach is. And ultimately, it's what makes hiring and selecting candidates, it really is pretty difficult. Like I just learned a solid lesson. Had a great guy, very experienced in this sector that he was selling to, but he didn't so much have debt recovery experience, right? But he's just an absolute monster in this world that we were selling to. And so I learned that there's a pretty big gap from being a monster in a certain sector and understanding the foundation of the world, the industry that I live in. And so it was a challenge, man, because now my core focus was, how do I assimilate what's happening in my world with all the regulations and what's the approach, what are the rules to this incredible intellect that you have in the world that I'm trying to sell to. So like, I certainly haven't mastered the equation yet, but that's definitely my approach.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's remarkable, your relational abilities. I mean, you're talking about, you love seeing people win, you love training people up, you have your metrics, you have that, but the soccer story and how that's applied to business and saying, yeah, I need to treat all these people a little bit differently for each one of them to succeed. So the collective is successful, the pie is successful. What's that cadence look like? Is that I'm meeting with these people weekly? Is it a month? Like how do you set the bar and then make sure they hit it?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I do is when you are a new hire, we're meeting every day. We're meeting every day to ideate. I get to be curious about them to try and get a better understanding of those skill strengths. Like, hey, do you like to make cold calls? Are you more of like a site visit? You want to hop in the car and go door knock? Like, talk to me about what that looks like. So the first couple weeks is very stringent one-on-one. But let's say we pass, we'll call it like a probationary period. You're off to the races. You're scoring some sales. So I do a Monday huddle that with my whole team that's all about goal setting. And it's, hey, what are you trying to accomplish this week? Like, let's take a look at what's in your pipeline. What 1, 2, or 3 things could happen this week where you're just like, killed it this week. Like I'm going into the weekend, I killed it. And so that's what Monday is about, is how can I and the rest of your teammates, like, dude, I love my team. My team supports each other so hard, and it's the most beautiful thing ever. So how can us as a sales collective just hype you up and score whatever that target or achievement is that you're looking for the week? So that's Monday. Through the week, part and parcel, some 1v1s, maybe bi-weekly. I'm checking in with each person along the way, but I talk to them so frequently, just in any case, that it's like, dude, an open door policy. If you got a challenge, if you got a question, if you want to talk to me about something, then just reach out and we tackle it, which is cool. And then Friday, we call it the achievements and culture session. And so real quick, we run down, hey, on Monday, you said you wanted to do X, Y, Z. How far did we get, bro? What were the roadblocks? Did we bring it home? So we'll go over the achievements and see how we could pivot. But then it's culture, man. Maybe somebody will say, oh, dude, I'm taking my family to this amusement park this week. Or, dude, my spouse or whatever made the best dinner with the meatloaf. And then I got 3 people that unmute. They're like, oh, bro, what's your meatloaf recipe? So I think that it's so important that the relationship that we all have is really what builds us up together. So creating an environment where culture is important, and it's not culture like, oh, everyone here is family, pizza on Fridays. Like, that's not the culture I'm talking about. I'm talking about genuine friendships in and around the team, and especially between what I create with my team. So if they know, man, if there's a challenge and you want to come to me about something that perhaps you feel vulnerable about, or you want to talk to me about a career path that's maybe pivoting from what you're doing, you're not afraid to open up that dialogue. And I could not be more stoked to hear about those vulnerabilities and any pivots that they want to make. Cause like, shoot, dude, I'm vulnerable with them and I'm looking for pivots on my management style as well at times. So it's just a really cool environment that we've created of people who just super want to kill it. So
Yeah. Awesome. I love your leadership style. I mean, I think it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that across 7 people. It's hard to do that across 20 people.
it's hard. It is hard.
It's like you got to care about them emotionally and you got to be tactically effective with them as well and bring that all together. But it seems like from what my understanding too, Chris, you're producing as well. Like you're a player and a coach, right? So how, given in your role, kind of VP of sales now, congrats on the promotion, the book, like where do you see like your own sales career kind of going, let's say the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, great question. I'll tell you what, whenever I'm hitting a period where maybe I'm second guessing instruction that I'm giving to someone, or if I'm trying to open up a new door that perhaps that person hasn't tried yet, I always go back to sales. Sales, like me doing sales, is my happy place. And so I will use my outreach and doing the LinkedIn DMs and making some cold calls and like putting myself back, boots in the mud, as almost a reset for me to help me go back to the grassroots and understand what these guys are dealing with day in and day out. And my big thing with my own sales is I'm not ever going to ask anybody on my team to do something that I'm not willing to do. Case in point, I'm not a huge cold caller. I love the content on LinkedIn that's about cold calling. I never really had a capacity where that was a primary KPI for myself. I was doing other stuff to drum up new sales. But especially with this new product launch that we had, there's a couple of other avenues that I'm looking to explore and scale. I rolled out a cold call KPI requirement for like, now I have some SDRs, I got some AEs, and that's like, dude, that's what you guys got to do. So I myself, give me a list. Give me a list of 500. I'm going to spend this whole week just cold calling. And I would send them my video recordings of me crashing and burning, like people telling me to kick rocks. I would send them the recordings of people that gave me, 3 seconds to explain the reason for my call. And then, send me an email. And then I go back to them and be like, send me an email. Hey, this guy's just trying to brush me off. Like, let's talk together. What are some good ways to deflect that? So you say something like, let me ask you a cheeky question, Brian. Have you ever received an email that was more fruitful than just like a 5-minute conversation? Well, that's a cool objection response right there. And so I was doing all these things that I was about to ask them to go full force into, because I'm not going to ask you to do something that I don't want to do or I won't do. And so that's kind of where I'm taking my sales right now. And then just with respect to the next 3 to 5 years, like my personal strategy is I'm trying to only pursue channel partnerships in my world. It just, look, they are very long sales cycles. They're dependent on the relationship at first, being patient, waiting for that pocket where it turns into an opportunity. And so I'm just trying to really like partner up with as many networks as possible where we can, I mean, to get salesy, to universalize their accounts receivable management system instead of having everybody who's inside of their network kind of with a different chessboard, playing their own game, different reputation behind how that process is managed. I think the value add or the proposition there is like, dude, let's preserve the integrity of your brand and have a universal outfit of how we deal with this across 1,500, 2,500 different individual locations so that now you've really got this kind of comprehensive and full-blown outfit for what you guys are doing with your accounts receivables and your payables.
That's great. I mean, it seems like a really good strategy. I mean, you're so deliberate, Chris, I think, in how you've like gone about things so methodically. And it's, I think, special to see like someone who's like, I'm going to humbly make mistakes in front of my team, show them mistakes. I'm going to set the bar, say it's here, but I'm also going to do it too, because I'm not just going to say, go do something and not do it myself. So to see you in the fire with them, I'm sure is motivating for them because you're not so much a command leader. You're like, hey, I'm going to set the direction of like where we need to go. And I'm going to get in the field and do it as well so we can learn together.
No, that's how I learned, man. Like, going back to this cold call initiative, I learned enough on LinkedIn to go like, hey, look, everybody, let's try and bang out 100 a day. And I was incorrect. I was expecting, look, if I make 100 phone calls a day, I should at least get 10 conversations. And then from those 10 conversations, have like 5% conversion into an actual booked meeting. And that should be the baseline. Dude, that first week when I was making calls, I had a couple conversations, but I was nowhere close to the metric that I was setting on the board for these guys. And so that's why it's so important for me to go out there and put my own boots in the mud, because it helps me create realistic goals. And I set ambitious goals, and like by all means, I didn't change what my target was or what my expectation was, but I did change how I viewed the timeline at growing into that, especially since it was kind of a newer thing for some of these guys. And so that's why it's so important for me to get out there and try it myself, because, anybody at the top could just say like, I need 1 million ARR new business every month. Do you know how hard that is to fork out every single month with the time of the sales cycle and XYZ and these specific nuances? Like, there's no way I could just ask for something as crazy as that without knowing how realistic and what do we need to do to actually get that. So
Understood. That's humble. You don't see that every day in terms of our leaders. Chris, let's end here on a few rapid fire questions.
Let's go. Did we already go a full hour? Brian, I could talk to you like, are you kidding me, bro?
No, we could go hours. Unfortunately, I have a hard stop. Chris's life in like 10 years. Tell me what you see.
Man, Chris's life in 10 years. I want to absolutely grind as much as I can right now. I don't think that I'm around for my kids enough. And so in 10 years, like, I'm around for them. I think that I'm hard on myself. But dude, I just love my kids, and I want my kids to have freaking anything in the whole world that they could ever imagine. And I want them to be proud of me. I know that they are proud of me. They see that dad works his butt off, but that's the world that I want to grow into in 10 years. It's just like maybe feeling a little bit more confident in the things they feel confident in with respect to like, dad's around. Dad's always here. Dad has my back. If I need to dip out on Tuesday because somebody's got a school performance or, doctor's appointment, we got doctor's appointment every day for the full week, like dad's available and he's going to take care of it. That's really the world that I want to grow into. I love being a great VP and soldier in the corporate world, but I would trade everything to just be the best dad to those kids ever. So
Cool. Love the family first mentality too. How do you want to be defined, looking back 20, 30 years from now in your sales career?
you know what? I want to be defined or remembered. Like, I'm not trying to trick anybody. It's not a gimmick. I really am curious. I'm not asking these questions because there's some ulterior motive. Like, I love learning about new processes and people. And so that's how I want to be remembered, man. It's just like Chris wasn't trying to BS me. He genuinely wanted to help. And he would be the first person to raise his hand and say, you know what? I don't think I'm able to help, or I don't think this is a solution for you. So I'm not trying to play games with it.
Your next book can be called The New Corporate Equals Curious and Casual.
Let's get it. We got a ghostwriter on our hands.
I know. I'm a ChatGPT ghostwriter, baby. It's good. Chris, where can people buy your book? Where can they reach out to you? And where can they hear your podcast?
Cool, man. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to get a hold of me. I am by no means a LinkedIn influencer. I don't have a huge following. So when people go into my DMs, I respond every time. I do. It's just, I feel like that's part of what got me here. So if you need to reach out, hit me on LinkedIn. The book available on Amazon platform. I got a hardcover and a Kindle version available. I'm working right now, self-recording the audio version. Somebody inspired me to do that. I hate hearing the way that I sound, especially in that circumstance, but I got the audio side coming out very soon. And then any of my podcasts, from Coletco Connection to Mutual Connections, can be found on LinkedIn. They could be found on YouTube. I have my Instagram, street.cred.it, street credit. I feel like that was a cool name. I work in finance. So you can find me there as well.
You're the man. Chris, it's been a pleasure, an honor, a joy. You are going far, and I'm excited to watch the journey continue.
I appreciate you, Big Day. I'm taking you with me. I'm trying to catch up to you, and we rising together, B-Dub. So always a pleasure, man. Love talking to you. You are one of the best out there with respect to that same curiosity. You're genuine. Like, we've really formulated and grown such a significant relationship, all because of one silly DM. And so that's the magic, bro. That's the magic. And I appreciate you. I'm always on Team Brian Wish.
No, you're the best. Talk soon.
All right, man. Cheers.
Chris Walker's story is proof that rock bottom can be the start of something bigger if you're willing to rebuild from it. From touring in smoky clubs to leading high-performing teams, he's learned that the same curiosity that makes you a great salesperson also makes you a great leader. His honesty about self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and the pressure of leadership reminds us that success is never a straight line. He's built his career on authenticity, adaptability, and the willingness to put in the work, even when no one's watching. Whether he's managing a sales team, coaching others, or being a dad, Chris's goal is the same: help people win, stay grounded, and lead by example. If this episode gave you something useful, a strategy, a mindset shift, or just a moment of motivation, take a second to leave a review and share it with someone who's working to level up their own game. New episodes release every Tuesday and Friday. Don't miss the next one.